Hello, everyone. My name is Segun Oraume. I am the CEO for KnowHow Media International. It's a media tech company based in Lagos. We've been around for about 17 years, and we have been managing through the challenges of business in Nigeria. I'm glad to have this conversation with you on starting small and growing big during and after COVID-19. COVID-19 has impacted extremely negatively across the globe. Several jobs have been erased. Several salaries earners, have lost their jobs. Several businesses have collapsed. Governments are still struggling to see how to address the health challenge as well as the challenge of a depressed economy worldwide. But the most important thing really is that economies are beginning to open up. The lockdown days appears to be over, and businesses are beginning to sprout back to life. And even in the midst of the pandemic, in the midst of the pains, interestingly enough, some people have been able to innovate, to reinvigorate whatever ideas that they've had, and then to bring it to the market, and then to be part of the new normal in the profitable sense of the word. So I want to share with you this conversation is how do you begin small? How do you sustain the smallness? How do you sustain what you have? How do you keep hold of your business and grow your business to be big or medium, to be medium or big, as you pass through the challenges of your growth curve? There are so many businesses that have come up with the pandemic within the context of the new normal. You've had a lot of businesses that ordinarily would never have thrived. Now it is a business that people are doing. People have. There are a lot of businesses that have happened because of the opportunities. There are businesses that have collapsed and have been reinvented. I was just going through this interesting story of a business in Lekki here in Lagos. It's just an event center, and I mean for over 5 months now, event centers have been locked down. With the curfew and all that, essentially anybody operating that business is certainly out of business now. But then you have this interesting scenario where the operator or the owner of that business, decided to turn it to a weekly market space, a weekly place for market. Of course, if you're in Lagos, you're aware that markets are not allowed to open every day. And when they open, the days the markets open, there's always a rush, heavy rush. Of course, there are still people who will never go to the Balogun market of this world, the Ojota market. So this event center in Lekki precisely is serving their need. So once a week, the center turns to an open market, where buyers and sellers physically congregate and exchange goods or services for money. So the event center is back to life, it's kicking, and who knows, that may just be its new life beyond COVID-19. So the key thing, I don't know whatever business you are doing. I mean, there are millions of businesses that are in existence there, are small, medium enterprises. But whatever it is, there are some key things, some key factors that really have to play out in your business life. First, now is a time to connect more with the customer. Now is a time to really, 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 really get to know your customer. We are in an environment where we often mount it that the customer is keen, but in real terms, the customer does not appear to be keen. The customer appears to be the last factor. I mean, in our world, it is a world where when the customer buys something from you, there is no guarantee that that product he's getting from you will work for him or her. And when he returns it, he will never have the product change. That era is gone. It is not about just having a customer, it's about having return. Your return rate on your customers really have to be really high. So it is time identify who your customer will be or who your customers are in this era, identify what are their unique needs. And you can only know my unique need if you care to spend resource to call me, to connect with me, to know how to serve me best and what products really will serve me now, particularly now that there's a global disruption in the supply chain worldwide. So that you are able to even meet my need at my point of need makes all the difference for me. So this is the era where you really connect with the customer. The second thing really is that it's time to also ensure that whatever funding you are able to access, you make judicious use of it. It's time to know where to get your funding. You really need to spend resources to look for funding, and it's also time to know what to do with your funding judiciously. It's time to reduce your exposure to unnecessary spending, or like my friend would say, if you know, the airports will soon be open. If you know you don't have any business going abroad, those frivolous trips have to stop. It's time to concentrate your fund back into your business. So it's time to reduce exposure to the things that don't really count within the business, and it's time also to ensure that you can set resources aside to get funding. Where do you go for funding? How do you research who can fund you? How do you run around information as per funding? You will always need fund. Every business will always need fund. Now, you often hear that government is not supporting. Yeah, government really, we're in an environment where government really don't support. But then, somehow government, every month you will always come to hear the news of how government is bringing out funds through the CBN, through the banks to support SMEs. If you push hard enough, you will be one of the beneficiaries. You need to ensure that you have the proper documentation that will make you to be entitled to get those funds. And interestingly enough, this is also an era where people are able to finally access the fund, and they end up trying to use their fund to do kalu. I know of an SME in Jos. I know of a small business in Jos. If you like, call it a micro business in Jos. This budding entrepreneur was able to access a particular amount through the CBN below 1 million naira. And the first thing this budding entrepreneur did was to go invest his money in all this bring in money. After 3 weeks, your 1 million or your 500,000 will triple or double. I just told the entrepreneur that you have just made the first mistake of your life in entrepreneurship. That money is not going to come back. And you are going to sweat to return federal government money, because your BVN is attached to that. Anywhere you get a job, anywhere you run a business, government will claim its money back. There are no longer cheap money. So it's time to really focus on how to manage your resource. It's time to innovate. You really have to innovate. Innovation is the key thing in this age. Cost of doing business in our environment has always been high. No thanks to COVID-19, it's even higher now. So what do we do? Just fold our arms. It's time to begin for you to innovate, to rethink your entry into the market and your sustainability in the market. It's time for you to know that there's an edge that your education gives you above those that don't have those basic education. And it's also time to trust your certificate less. Don't believe in your certificate. Certificates are cool, they're nice. Those university degrees, diplomas and all that. But the most important thing is skill. You need to acquire the prerequisite skill to do anything you need to do now. It's time to concentrate more on skill building, and then see how you can push your agenda for skill to innovate or to rework your business, your business ideas. You will not believe it. A lot of people are beginning to invest. Agriculture is one area you really could look at, and you don't have to be in the field there. In the value chain of agriculture, there are so many parts of that value chain that you can invest in. I am investing in rice, in rice distribution. I'm also investing in goat nursery and goat nursery. It's actually owned by a startup. It's a young lady who owns it somewhere in Jos, and then I happen to be part of the pitch. And then I realized that I could invest in that, in the goat nursery, where they breed goats and then nurse the goats and take the goats to the market, and then they're they're also included in that value chain. They have abattoir where the goats are slaughtered, and then now they've evolved to have a refrigerating point, a cold room where the goat meat are also stored. Ultimately, find their way to the market. Just by merely starting with 100,000, my investment, value has grown in the last 11 months. This happened before COVID-19. It has really grown even now, and yet for me, it's part of my residual business income that comes in through investment. So you have to innovate, not just innovate, you have to expand your realm of innovation. And then I am in the media world. Most of the things we do now are virtual. So within the media space, we've been able to see, how do we run conferences online? How do we run events online? How do we invest in internet connectivity? And then how do we even get people to sponsor others to join the conference, train? For example, take where my presentation is intended for. One of the things that we are doing is that if we need to get like 100 people attending that conference, and we know that those SMEs don't have the means, we try to talk to those within corporate Nigeria. Say, you need to sponsor the connectivity, access, empower the access. Give them access empowerment, rather. Give them access empowerment to be able to attend this conference. So as many people will be able to attend and get very good access based on the access empowerment, courtesy of the sponsorship of any corporate, entity. So what am I saying? In a nutshell is that, it's time to rethink how you enter the market, how you stay in the market, and how you are able to make profit from the market. The key things, is that the customer is not just king. The customer is your partner. Your client is your partner. And then secondly, it's also time to dedicate how you raise funds, how you manage your fund, and lastly, it's time to innovate how your business reaches the customer. God bless you and thank you.